Hello there, I'm the author of the new adult paranormal romance series Shifters and Mages. Book 1, Puck's Choice, is out now, and the sequel, or the next book in the series, Jenna's Story, comes out in July. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to find out about and sign up for different author events. Now, I'm by no means an expert because I've only been doing this a couple of years myself. However, I feel that I've gained enough insight to at least get you started on your way to doing your own author events. So, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to need to know is that you're going to have to talk to people. A lot of authors, myself being one of them, are almost complete total recluses in the fact that we're introverts. We don't like leaving our own homes. We don't like talking to people unless it's online, and we don't like to leave our personal bubble of safety and space. If you're looking at doing author events, though, you're gonna have to get over that, because the main thing about doing any kind of author event is that you're going to have to be able to talk to people. You're going to have to step outside your comfort zone and have a conversation with people. I know, it's scary, especially since some people are crazy. That is the main factor that's going to help you no matter what kind of event you're doing. Now, there are different kind of events. You can do conventions, you can do straight up book signings at libraries or bookstores, you can do craft fairs, you can do panel discussions, you can do meet and greets, Q&As. There's all kinds of events that authors can do. The ones I have done the most so far have been conventions, and I've done a couple of craft fairs. I have yet to be on a panel, but that's okay, because I have taken part of panels as an audience member. I'm not quite certain what the right terminology is there. I've gone to panels and I've asked questions and I've listened to conversations that go on there. I have not done any signings at bookstores or libraries. I'm still trying to set those up. The best way to find out about different events is just to word of mouth. Honestly. I've been to most of the events I've been to, I have found out from other people. Whether it's been a craft fair or a convention or a panel discussion, almost every event I've been to, I found out because another person told me about it. Word of mouth is still a powerful thing. It's been a powerful thing for generations past, and it'll be a powerful thing in generations to come. Your best way of finding out about author events is to talk to people and ask them, where have you done book signings? Where have you sold books? What have you been doing that works for you? And not just talking to authors. Like some of the events I found out from other crafters, and they've just worked out that I can do author related stuff there too. So be willing to talk to not only authors, talk to your local crafters, talk to those who sell collectibles and toys and comic books. Be willing to talk to anyone, because you never know what kind of event they might tell you about. They might tell you about something that is happening just down the road from you that you never knew was going on. Mostly because it was not something that really geared towards your interest. But at the same time, even if it doesn't gear towards your interest, you could still set up as an author and still do your thing amidst everything else. I know, it sounds strange, but I promise you it works. Once you have an idea of when different events are going on and where they're taking place, my advice to you is to write it all down. Get a big, giant calendar and write every event down. Write down when they are, write down where they are, and keep a general idea on your little calendar of when and where they are. Because when and where they are will be a big factor in whether or not you want to go to them. So when you're looking at events, you want to be able to do events that are within your time, within your range of travel distance, and you want to do something that's going to be worth it to you to go to and take your time at, and still be able to do everything you can at home. Like in my case, I want to be able to go to an event, come home, sleep, drop my kids off at school, and possibly do another event. Those are the kind of events I'm looking at. And you got to do the kind of events that will work for you in the same concept. Once you have a general idea of what kind of events you can do, make sure you mark off the ones you know you can mark out due to distance. Like, I've been invited to do a couple of cons up in Ohio, which is awesome. But at the same time, that's not logical for me to do right now since I live in North Carolina. I don't have the travel expenses, I don't have the time, and I don't have the resources to do something like that at this moment. Those are the kind of events you can go ahead and cancel out right away. Those are the events you don't want to do. You don't want to do events that you know you cannot get to, or know that do not fit in your schedule because of either A, other events going on in your personal life or your work life, or just because you cannot logically do them within a time period that makes sense and for you to be able to do it. Okay? So those ones you can automatically roll out. The next thing you need to do is find out how much these different events cost for you to go to. I can tell you this right now. Craft fairs are going to be cheaper than conventions no matter what. Craft fairs, I think the most expensive craft fair I've seen a table fee for is $75, and that was for a 3-day event craft fair. You paid $75 for a 6-foot table, and that was where you set up in, and you could bring a tent if you wanted to, since it was an outdoor event. But that's the most expensive one I've seen, and like I said, that was for 3 days. The most craft events are going to be a whole lot cheaper than that. Conventions, on the other hand, especially the larger conventions or the multi-day conventions, are going to be a lot pricier. I think the cheapest one I've seen thus far has been $75. That's the cheapest one I've seen for a convention. However, I will say this. Conventions, while being more expensive to go to, are generally, you're going to see that money back. You're going to easily see that money back. Once you have your list of events on your calendar for when and where they're located, you've already crossed out the ones that you can't go to because of location, and you have your price range of the different conventions or different events you're going to. Go ahead and mark out those you cannot do because of price. Maybe they're too far out of your price range to do at this time. Don't completely block those out, and I will tell you why in a minute. But just for right now, put a tick next to them that you can't do them because of price. Just put some kind of symbol next to them that you can't do them because of price, because it just is not feasible for you because of the cost. The cost it's going to mean. Once you have your list of events that you know you can do, the location is correct, the location is good for you, the cost is good for you, the time period is good for you, the next thing you need to do is figure out who you need to contact in order to actually sign up for the event. Some conventions especially have contact information and even prices on their websites. Craft fairs are not always that easy to find. Craft fairs usually go through an individual person. You'll have to email that person to find out A, cost, and B, to get an order form, because for every event you're going to have to fill out an order form where it's the general information is going to be your name, what you possibly are selling, especially for craft events. Craft events want to know what you're selling, whether or not you'll need electricity, whether or not you'll need sometimes they'll be asking for tent spaces, or if it's an outdoor event, whether or not you need a tent. And the order form will generally have a lot of information for you to fill out in order for you to sign up for the event. And then you'll have to usually PayPal your fee. If in the chance that you cannot find a contact person online or even a phone number to contact, the best way to find out who you need to contact is to email other people or talk to other people who have done this event and get contact information from them. Generally, I've only had to do that for craft events. It's very rare I've had to do that for a convention. For conventions, most of the time I find their information online somewhere, whether it's through a Facebook event or through an actual website. I know that Florence Comic Con and Fayetteville Comic Con, which I'm doing this year, both have all their information on their website. Other places might not have it as readily available. And you might have to go through a Facebook event, a Twitter post, or something like that. Once you have contact, you fill out your application, you've sent in your money, you are all set up for your event, and you are ready to go. It might take some talking back and forth to people who coordinate with the event, but ultimately, you are in. You are in. Yeah, you're in. Because that's all there is to it, really, is finding the people and contacting them and talking and having a conversation with them about different events. We're going to go backwards now. The reason I told you to put tick marks next to those events that you could not technically afford is because if you can, and this is something I actually do with another author friend of mine, if you can find someone to partner with to go to these events with, and you can split the cost of a table fee and share a table, more power to you. That's actually awesome, because it allows you both to go to an event you wouldn't otherwise be able to afford individually, and you can both set up at the convention. You'll have to decide ahead of time who's going to fill out the application. You'll have to decide out ahead of time who's going to send in the money, because you won't be able to send it, in most cases, you won't be able to send it separately. But you'll be able to share a table and sell your items if you can make it work. Now, that being said, some events you won't be able to do this at. You'll always have to email whoever is coordinating the event and find out if you can share a table with someone. Because some events will say, no, you cannot. And in that case, you'll go ahead and mark them out, because that's not one you can do. But in the case that you reply back, yeah, sure, no problem, if you've got a buddy you can share a table with and work out the convention that way, you will be able to broaden your horizons in the kind of events you can go to. You'll be able to go to events that you've tick marked that you cannot afford by yourself, or within your range of distance, within your time frame, but you cannot afford by yourself. You'll be able to go to those events if you've got a buddy who's willing to go with you and sign up as well for a table. And then you just partner together and sign up for the same table, figure out who's going to fill out the application, figure out who's going to PayPal the money, and you just, whoever, like say I'm PayPaling the money to the event, my partner will PayPal me their half of the fee. That's all there is to it, really. Another thing you might need to consider when you're looking at events, especially conventions or craft fairs, is that some require you to have a business license in order for you to attend their event. They want to see proof of a business license. In that case, and I know I personally do not have a business license yet. I am working on building a brand name for my self-publishing, so eventually I will have a business license. But right now I don't have a business license. And if you don't have a business license, any event that requires such, in order for you to participate with them, you're not going to be able to do those right away. I mean, because those that require business licenses will not take you any other way. So again, you can mark those out. Those aren't the kind of events you might want to do unless you have a business license. As far as contacting people for signings at bookstores and author and libraries, the best way to do that is just to walk into your local bookstore or walk into your local library and say, hi, my name is blah blah, I write, state your genre, is there any way I can do a book signing here? Libraries especially, if you can gather, again, it means talking to people, and especially it means partnering with other authors. If you can gather enough authors, you can do a author signing at libraries with other authors. This is something I've not attempted yet, mostly because the authors that I've found in my area do not write in the same genre as me, but they all seem to write in the same kind of genre as each other. A lot of them do poetry and contemporary fiction, neither of which I do a lot of. So I haven't been finding anyone willing to do a book signing with me at a library yet for that reason. If you have a wide range of authors, all different genres, awesome, because you can still make that work. And even in my case, I can still make it work. It is better if you guys all write in the same genre, or if everyone writes in a completely different genre instead of everybody but one or two people writing in the same genre. But yes, definitely, if you can get with a whole bunch of other authors and go forth to this library and say, hey, we would like to have a book signing here, we write blah blah. A lot of times a library will be willing to work with you in order to set up a book signing. Granted, any event you do, you'll have to bring your own books. You'll have to bring any kind of signing utensils, pens, markers. I personally use a bronze Sharpie. I like the way it looks. It's pretty. They'll be willing to work with you in setting up the event itself, and sometimes they'll even be willing to help with you in advertising, because advertising what you're doing is also a big thing. You want to be able to advertise that you're doing this event. You want to be able to let people know that it's going on. Bookstores are going to be the same way in a lot of cases. The bigger name bookstores like Barnes & Noble, the best way to find out about doing an author signing with them is to walk into them and talk to the manager of the store itself. And this is where it gets tricky, especially for self-published authors. If the bookstore you are talking to cannot carry your books, they're going to be less willing to talk to you about setting up an event than if they are able to order copies of your book. I'm sorry, that's just the way it goes. They want to be able to make money off your signing. And while you'll still have to bring books of your own a lot of times, it's easier to set up the initial signing if they are able to stock your book themselves a couple weeks in advance of the event. Again, though, you would have to talk to a manager of the store, and they'd be willing to work with you on setting up a time, setting up a schedule that works with you, and getting everything ready, even advertising. A lot of times they'll be able to help advertise, especially if you provide a flyer saying, I'm doing a signing such and such day. They'll be able to work with you if they're able to stock your books. So I'm sorry, self-published authors. Yes, it's possible. There are self-published authors who can, depending on the way you've got your stuff set up, are able to have their books in their stores. In which case they'll have no issue with setting up an event for you. But I'm telling you this now, it's less likely to happen if they cannot stock your books. Is it impossible? No, it is not impossible. But it is harder. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to give you a little bit of a basic starting point in finding out about different author events and how to go about setting them up. It's going to be mainly talking to people. It's going to be mainly finding out from other crafters, from other authors, from other convention people, what they're doing, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, as far as which events they've gone to, what kind of events they've gone to, and what they're doing. My biggest advice to you, try a little bit of everything. See what works for you. Maybe a library signing will work for you. Maybe a convention will work for you. Maybe a craft fair will work for you. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes it doesn't even depend on what you are writing. Sometimes it literally depends on how many people show up to this event. You might have a small craft fair where you don't sell a lot of books, you don't sign a lot of books, and you might consider not doing another craft fair, but then you decide to go ahead and try it, and you try another larger craft fair, and people keep pouring in. At least nothing else, they pick up your bookmark and get your information, and they look it up later and purchase. Maybe they even buy your ebook online. My advice is to try everything. At least give it a try. Because if nothing else, especially in my experience, I've always found out about different events while at events. I've never considered an event I've gone to, even if I've made no sales whatsoever, I've never considered it an actual fail, because I've always gotten information about other events I could do where I will have more success. So ultimately, try a little bit of everything and see what works for you. If nothing else, you'll meet some great people. You'll have contacts for further events in the future, and you'll get a little more used to talking to people, because nothing pushes you out of your comfort zone like talking to people. I'm Sky Haggis, and hopefully you got enough information to at least get started with some events, and talk to you guys later. Bye.